Why does it matter? Why does it matter what's on top of the chord?
For chord melodies.
Okay.
Voice leading.
For voice leading, sure, but yes.
It
Yes.
emphasizes the melody for the improviser.
What's that?
It emphasizes the melody
Oh.
for the improviser.
Okay. Okay. What if you're playing with a singer and you want to play your hip F minor 9 voicing, but the first melody note is an A flat? So you end up giving the singer that dissonant sound, right? So that's why I hate seeing what I have in this packet, which are just chord sheets without a melody, because I want to know what the melody is so I don't screw up the melody player by playing a number that doesn't, so I need to know all my numbers. I need to know where 1, 3, 5, and 7 is. I need to know where 9, 11, and 13 are. I need to know that 13 is the same as 6. I need to know 11 is the same as 4. 9 is the same as 2. I need to know where all the flats and sharps of those notes are. Which brings us...
Can you explain, while you're on that,
Yeah.
what is the difference between 13 and 6? I know there's no difference in the note. But
There's
why-
no difference in the
why
note.
do
Why
we
would a
have-
chord be called a
Right.
6 or a 13?
Or the 4 and 11.
Right. There are a few weird exceptions. Here is a B flat 13. Here's a B flat 6. Here's a B flat 6. The B flat 6 has a 1, 3, 5, and 6. The B flat 13 has a 1, 3, 6, and flat 7. The key is the flat 7. If I have the flat 7, I call it a 13. The world calls it a 13 if it has the 7th in it. If it doesn't have the 7th in it, it's called a 6.
So that'd be the same as an add 13 then, the 6 and the add 13? You don't have the 7th in
Yes, if someone calls it an add 13, I would think there's not a 7th in it, but
Right.
I think they shouldn't call it that. But I would say that's a B flat 6. Now there's a 6-9 chord, for instance, that has the second, and they don't call it a second, even though there's not a 7th in the chord. So there's an exception to the rule that the numbers are higher than 7 only if a 7 is included. That's an exception. But you're right, they might say add 9. You see on a lot of these sort of chords, which are pretty, and they're kind of a new modern alternative to jazz. I can put color without sounding like jazz in my Sting composition or whatever. And that's so it says add 9. They don't say add 2. They say add 9, but there's no 7th in that chord. Sus 4, that makes sense. That's a 4. Now it might say 7 sus 4, and that tells you that the 7th's there, but the 3rd is changed to a 4th. It might say 9 sus 4. That means it includes the 7th. The 9 told you it included the 7th. The sus 4 didn't tell you that. If it just says sus, that means the 3rd is replaced with the 4th. If they want you to replace the 3rd with the 2nd, they call it a sus 2. A lot of jazz arrangers just call that a 2 chord as opposed to a sus 2, because you're not suspending anything. You're not raising the 3rd up. You're actually lowering it. But you will see it called a sus 2. But generally speaking, if it says 9 or 13, it means there is a 7th in it. And if it says minor 11, now if it says B flat 11, then you're probably playing something by Bob Mintzer or Maria Schneider that has a 7th in it and a natural 4, which but also a 3, so I can't play it, there it is. Give me something like that.
Does it have a 9 in it?
It can. If you have a 13, you gotta, that if the 9 is supposed to be flat or sharp, they better tell you, because if it says 13, that means you can include a 9. It's hard for guitar players to include that,
Yeah.
but a piano player could easily. So if you're specifying and that 9th doesn't sound right, for instance, if you want it to be a diminished scale sort of sound, that's a 13 with a flat 9. And you're specifically, that you're looking for this scale. It has a 13 and a flat 9. Only the half-whole diminished scale has a natural 13 and a flat 9. But if you just say 13 and expect someone to play diminished, no, someone might play a natural 9 because that could be included. Any number lower than the 13 could be included in a B-flat 13. But you have to also know that the 11 is going to clash. Yes, modern writers, you know, might include it because I kind of like that sound. But generally avoid the 11th unless you want to make it a sharp 11 on a dominant or a major chord. On a minor chord, minor 11 is fine. There's nothing wrong with minor 11. Half diminished, yeah, 11th is often the melody note if you look at a tune that has half diminished chords. Cole Porter's I Love You. That's the 11th. And it's, you know, you think of a more modern tune like Gloria's Step. When you get to the bridge, 11th, flat 5, but I'm putting a natural 9 in the voicing because it's a modern half diminished sound. 11th in the melody, flat 5 in the melody. I'm adding a 9th and playing an F. Minor major 7, which is really a D, minor 9, flat 5. 11th in the melody. 11th in the melody, sharp 9 in the melody. But that's a modern hip tune where you can enhance the half diminished chord as well. I tend to not do much with the half diminished chord because it's cool already. It has a flat 5 in it. Sometimes add the 11th. But minor 11s, great, but putting the 11th on major or dominant. I don't want it to be too much of a theory class, but as you can see on the next page, I have a bunch of numbers.